Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Killer Personality Podcast. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Destiny.
And we're happy to be back, as always. We are...
Change of scenery.
Yes, a little bit different.
We're at Courtney's house today. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah, so I feel like I had this big intro that I wanted to do about natural state media and everything, and...
Go for it.
I forgot it. That's why I'm like drawing a blank here.
Well, we have this podcast, and our husbands actually have what they call a sister podcast. We call a brother podcast.
Yeah, because we're girls and they're boys.
Yeah,
so.
Called Watchlist Wednesday. So Natural State Media, who my husband is kind of the head of that because he has all the equipment. He edits all of the video and audio, kind of produces the podcast. But there's another podcast that really has lots more episodes than us.
Oh, for sure.
So if you're a fan of Marvel or
movies in general, TV shows.
Disney.
Yeah, they talk about it all.
Yeah, really anything media. Mm-hmm. They do movie reviews. They talk about trailers that are coming out. They do fun stuff like Christmas movies, favorite Christmas movies. They do a lot of polls on their social media. So y'all should check them out at Watchlist Wednesday.
Yes.
On pretty much all things you can find Killer Personality Podcast on, you can also find Watchlist Wednesday podcast on.
Yeah, so definitely go check them out.
And Tevin's my husband. Patrick is her husband. So you've probably heard us have stories about them on here. So now
you can hear and see them if you choose to do it on YouTube.
That's our shout out of the day. Okay. So...
Your intro was already heartbreaking.
Right?
I do know a little bit about this case. I feel like this one's big enough to where I do know something about it.
Chris Watts, he is just...
hero. That is
There's literally a video of the little girl saying, "Daddy, you're my hero."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I cannot even.
The Enneagram part of this episode, you're going to love.
Oh, okay.
You're going to love this. We've actually talked about what I think this phenomenon is.
Okay.
Regarding the Enneagram. Yes. So, Chris Watts, most likely everyone is decently familiar with this, but actually I talked to a fan. So,
one of our fans?
Wow. Emily Riley, shout out to you. I took her engagement pictures today.
That's so exciting.
And my husband was like, "How do y'all know each other?" And she was like, "Well, I follow the podcast."
Thanks. You said her name was Emily?
Emily.
Thanks for listening, Emily.
Emily. So we literally, I'm taking her engagement pictures. We're talking about the podcast. She always comments on our Instagram, things like that. And she also knew I did photography, blah, blah, blah. But today we were walking along. She was freezing cold doing her pictures. And I said, "Well, do you know about Chris Watts?" Because we were recording that tonight. And she was like, "I don't think I've watched." We were talking about the documentary on Netflix. So there may be people who have missed this,
All right.
Either way, there is a documentary. It's called American Family Murder something, The Guy Next Door or something. Yeah. But Chris Watts was born in North Carolina, as was his wife, Shanann.
Shanann.
I know. You would think it's Shannon. It's Shanann.
Shanann.
So,
got it.
Shanann Watts.
Okay.
They're from North Carolina, but at some point they are living in Colorado. So they live in Frederick, Colorado, a town of around 14,000 people.
You know, this is something I think about a lot because my best friend is moving to Washington, and there's just a lot of murders that happen on that side of the United States. So I think this is just a pro tip. Probably stay away from that side of the United States.
So Chris worked for a petroleum company. That's important.
Okay.
Oil.
Petroleum. Got it.
He has access to these big oil areas. He was married to Shanann in 2012. They had met prior in 2010. Shanann worked...
Okay, this is more recent than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shanann worked for one of the direct sales, on social media. She did the Thrive sales.
Okay.
So she was always on social media. If you want to look this girl up, like, you can literally find every home video like me, like posting everything ridiculous, like Christmas morning. You know, she has videos of everything.
Okay.
So it makes it more eerie because you can literally see their normal life.
Wow.
Normal. Perfectly normal family.
Yeah.
Seemingly.
Yeah.
So they're like, they do the Christmas morning. He dresses up like Santa for them.
Oh my goodness.
They wear their favorite team's jerseys for football games and watch NFL.
I feel like these are normal things that you see about, like,
it could be our neighbor.
Anybody.
Absolutely.
I mean, like you just said, like, you posted a Christmas morning thing. Yeah. We have friends who do the football thing together. Everybody wears a jersey.
Right. So they live in a very nice house. Mm-hmm. Looks like a quaint neighborhood. Maybe a little nicer than our neighborhood, but I mean, pretty comparable to just like a little rural area. I mean, a little suburban area.
Okay.
And like neighbors right next door. Uh-huh. They all have Ring doorbells.
Okay.
So, I mean, very like normal. Mm-hmm. No stressful childhood experiences that I have to share. Just
interesting.
So something interesting is that Shanann has a bit of a personality.
What kind of personality?
So
a killer personality? Probably not.
Her personality, honestly, seemed a little more killer than him.
Okay.
Now, she wasn't harmful in any way to anybody. Although he tried to portray her that way, but she was a boss lady.
Okay.
She is bossy. She was described as vivacious and tenacious. Oh. And her best friend specifically said that, these are her words, not mine, she was bossy, but not like in the bitchy kind of way. But like in...
like a take control kind of way.
Yeah.
Like get it done.
But in some of the videos and in some of the text messages, because pretty much everything's released. Yeah. Reminder, this is Media Circus season 3. Mm-hmm. So everything hit the media. All of their text messages pretty much you can find.
Okay.
And she's kind of forward. Like, she's a little pushy.
Okay.
She's a little in your face. She's a little dominant. Okay. Very dominant compared to him.
Okay.
And I think there were times that he maybe felt like I don't know, probably like she was dominant.
Okay.
Maybe like he wasn't the leader or a man or something, you know. So
I think it does take a special man to be okay with a woman who is so
in
dominant.
Your face.
Yeah. To be
so in the media, when this case comes up, her personality got spun in a way that was almost victim shaming or victim blaming kind of. Uh-huh. And that's not how I mean it. I think just to paint the picture, you do have to know that he was a little more calm, cool, collected, soft-spoken. Uh-huh. She was a little more, you know, like there was a video of her being like, having him dress up as Santa. Mm-hmm. And she's like, clearly making him do this, like dress up as Santa. And then she's like, where's my phone? And he's like, I left it in the garage. She's like, obviously I needed that to do a video. You know, like she's just very, and he was just kind of like, okay, sorry, you know, and goes and gets it. Mm-hmm. So anyways, that sets up the story. They have 2 children. They have Cece and, oh dear Lord. They go by a different name. So let me make sure I share their. Okay, so Celeste, they called Cece and Bella. And Bella was born in 2013. Mm-hmm. Cece was born in 2015. So this really is not very long ago.
No,
and the murders happened in 2018.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I feel like, wow, that's way more recent than I thought.
Yeah, very, very recent. So,
in just 2018, how many years ago is that? Is that 5? That's 5 years?
4.
18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 4 years? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm bad at math.
So, this is their little family, and let's kind of fast forward to the murders. This is August 13th, 2018. Plot twist, Shanann's pregnant.
Okay.
So we find out Shanann's pregnant. She's like 15 weeks pregnant, and they find out it's a boy.
Okay.
So Shanann had been in North Carolina for like, you know, her family lives there. His family lives there as well. So Shanann had been in North Carolina for like 6 weeks, which if she works direct sales, she doesn't have like a clock in, clock out 9 to 5 job. I guess she can just go for 6 weeks. Yeah. And just go stay with her family.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of...
seems like a long time, though.
Right.
And he's not there with her. Okay.
Now, he does come up to visit, but there was a lot of text message stuff going on between them leading up to this, where it's just kind of like she's texting her friends a lot, which we do this when we're in a fight with spouses or whatever, where it's like, yeah, he didn't even say I love you, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she's kind of telling her friend, like, I'm worried. I don't know if he really wants this baby.
Aww.
Things like that. So you see their text messages, and then I guess at one point, he actually is there, and she's wanting to have sex, and he's just kind of like, he wanted to work out, and she's just like, this is weird. He's super disconnected from me. What's going on? She tells her friend, the only thing that I could figure is if there's another woman. And her friends are, of course, like, oh my gosh, no, he would never do that to you. Da, 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 da. And even family members of them had said, like, he seemed like the perfect husband. He never raised his voice at her. This wasn't like a battered woman at all. You know, definitely not a battered woman domestic violence situation that we know of.
Right.
That anyone knew of. I guess we can't speak for sure, but no one assumed that. It wasn't like the O.J. Simpson case where, like, okay, there was tons of red flags. Like this, seemingly nothing. Well, they end up coming back. Well, there was also a big fight with mother-in-law. So his mother hated Shanann. His sister hated Shanann. I think it was that blunt personality they didn't jive with, but Cece, I think Cece or Bella, I can't remember, had a food allergy, and apparently the mother-in-law had that food there at the home. Shanann got super defensive, mama bear, and was just basically like, my kid's not coming back to your house because you could have risked her life, basically, having something that she's allergic to there while my kids are there. A little forward.
Yeah.
But then apparently, like, the mother-in-law didn't show up to the kid's birthday party. So that was stressful.
Some family drama.
Yes, definitely stressful for Chris to have to choose between his wife and his mom. And, you know, she was very much like, you better tell your mom, blah, 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 blah. Drama, right? That's what I mean by bossy. And she was not passive by any means. She was, like, going to confront anybody, didn't care what you thought.
Okay.
So... fast forward to the murders. August 13th, 2018, she had been at a Thrive conference. So for the weekend, she and her best friend had been at this conference, and he was home with the kids. Seemingly normal weekend. Well, they get back, like they drive through the night, they get back in the wee hours of the morning, and basically, she had already told her friend she had a doctor's appointment the next morning, all of these things. And the next morning, no one had heard from her. I don't know how the best friend just assumed or knew to check on her, but was like, I haven't gotten a hold of her. You know, I just dropped her off like a few hours ago. She hasn't read any of my text messages. She didn't go to her doctor's appointment this morning. I guess the best friend just started getting super nervous.
Yeah.
So goes to her house. There is nothing, nothing out of place. The house is spotless. Everything looks fine. Chris is like, I don't know. Have you not heard from her? And then he's like searching through the house, and he's like, oh no, she left her phone. And there's like text messages from him asking her, hey, where are you? He's like literally staging this the whole time.
Wow.
But like nothing's out of place. And he's like, maybe her and the kids left. I hope that they're okay. Just basically being dumb, plain dumb. Yeah. And the police are just kind of like, sir, like, have you heard from her or blah, blah, blah. Well, so the neighbor has a Ring doorbell. So they go to the neighbors and the neighbor is showing the footage and no one has come and gone from that house except for Chris.
Okay.
So the only thing that's happened is Chris's truck is like backed out and, they're like, no other activity.
Yeah.
No other car has come out, blah, 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 blah. And Chris was just kind of like, getting stressed out, like, walking around. And so he walks out and the neighbor is just kind of like, he ain't acting right. The neighbor tells the detective, like, or the police, he doesn't usually act like that. He's not usually nervous and talkative. Like, he's normally real quiet and reserved. And so the police was just kind of like, well, he's probably nervous because he hasn't seen his wife and kids, but the neighbor's just like, something's not right. Like,
that's not.
I saw his truck backing out, like he doesn't normally park like that.
Yeah.
And anyway, so good old concerned neighbor. He's the true hero. So anyways, come to find out, Chris, in fact, had been cheating.
Okay.
There was another woman. And that's just kind of, the men. Here's my rant. Men don't like when women are crazy. Yeah. Shanann was kind of a little crazy. Okay. She was accusing him, but he was, in fact, giving her reason.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people talk bad about Shanann saying that, well, she was crazy and bossy and blah, 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 but he was actually cheating.
Right. And I feel like I guess there is a level of people change after they get married or whatever, but like you knew this when you married her. There's no way she was just like this really passive, chill girl, and then you got a ring on her finger and she was like domineering and overbearing.
Right.
I know that does happen sometimes, but like, especially
also
in abusive relationships.
If you are giving her reasons to think you're cheating.
Yeah.
Like, you are cheating. So he meets this girl at work named Nikki, and
Nikki.
Yeah, Nikki. Now, in Nikki's defense, actually, no. Now, Nikki didn't know, I don't think, that he was going to kill her.
Yeah.
But, you knew that she was married. She says that they didn't, but they have, in fact, I'll link the YouTube video, found that she was, like, searching on her, they took everything. All the Google searches. She was searching, like, the man I'm in an affair with is leaving his wife. Or, like, she knew. You knew, girl.
Mm-hmm.
But no, she did come clean and say, like, hey, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I heard his wife went missing and, I want to come clean. She's in the witness protection program now.
Wow.
Save Nikki. Hashtag save Nikki. But
her name's no longer Nikki, so good luck trying to save her.
So they were like going on trips together, and he finally started getting just lazy. Like, he wasn't even trying to hide it. The weekend that he was home with the girls, he, like, right before he ends up murdering his family, he goes on a date with Nikki, uses their shared credit card or bank card to pay for dinner. He says he's like going out and having dinner. He has a babysitter at home with the kids. He says he's going out with the guys or somewhere, going to a game. He ends up spending like $70 on dinner. And Shanann's obviously like, how did you spend $70 at dinner? Like, that's suspicious.
Yeah.
And anyways, he like goes to the gas station, gets cash out, goes home. He was like Google searching wedding rings and stuff. Like he was planning to propose. He had a Google search, like, how soon is too soon to say I love you to someone you just started dating? Dude, you're married.
Yeah.
You're married with children and a child on the way. So this is going to get brutal. So if you are uninterested in hearing the gory details, then
skip ahead a little.
Fast forward. But we're just going to get to the point. Shanann comes home. What what we believe happened is that he may or may not have told her that he wanted to get a divorce. This isn't working. I wanted to get a divorce. Whether he told her that and it didn't go well, or he chickened out, which is what I really think, and he didn't tell her, he ultimately choked Shanann. So he suffocated her, and then he wraps her up in a sheet. He drags her out to his vehicle, which is hence the truck. So he's parked into the garage. He puts her in the truck. He then takes the 2 little girls. This is brutal. Trigger warning. He takes the 2 little girls with their blankets and suffocates them.
Oh my gosh.
He drives. Actually, he doesn't kill them yet. He lets them live with the dead mother in the floorboard. Puts them, he tells it like it's so disgusting. He tells it like they were sitting there like, what's wrong with mommy? And they were just like cuddled up with each other because they're still sleepy. Yeah. Like he woke them up out of their sleep, drives 40 minutes out to this like oil, I don't even know what to call it, like this plot of land that's got these big oil barrels, gets a shovel, buries Shanann, and then suffocates the girls. Like, literally lets one of them watch the other one.
Oh, my God.
And she's like, Daddy, no, please don't do this, you know? Yeah. And puts them in these tiny little slots to go down into an oil thing. They said that they found, like, there was oil, like, in their stomach and their nose and everywhere. Like, they were just, if they weren't dead, they were going to drown or suffocate, basically, in these oil barrels. Oh. And literally was like, still thinking he was going to go off to be with Nikki.
That is horrible.
It was basically like I have to close this life so that I can
start a new one.
And he said like he was in love with her. Like she treated him differently than Shanann. She, whatever, the hot new thing.
Yeah.
He had also like been a little overweight or heavier set, you could say. And then he had like lost a ton of weight, like was super muscular and buff. And I think it was just a midlife crisis or I'm a new man. She's great. Hot new thing. But basically his only way out seemingly was he just had to get rid of it, get rid of all of this to start over.
It just makes you think like as a parent, like what's going through your mind through all that? Like, okay, so you killed your wife in a fit of rage.
He then tries to say that Shanann killed the kids, so he had to kill her.
What?
Oh, you little liar. No one believed him. If you watch the Netflix documentary, you can see the props to her, the woman who was doing the polygraph, and then after the polygraph, she was like, well, you failed. So, and she was just like, you failed, and you know what happened. So let's make this easy and tell us the truth. And they kind of set him up to say that, to say like, were you protecting, And so he says that. And then finally he's like, he even lies to his dad and is like, I had to kill her because she was hurting the kids. Like Shanann was a lot.
Yeah.
She was not mean to those kids. Like every video you can tell, like there is literally no chance that she tried to kill the kids.
Yeah.
And like, he's just trying. And so the lady was just like, do you want the public to know that? Are you going to let the public know that? Or are you going to tell the truth? And anyways, he eventually admits to all of it. So he's serving like 5 life sentences.
So like this for sure is like, these are the facts. It's not obscure. Like we don't kind of know what happened, but it's more like.
He's admitted it and told these stories.
Okay.
Yeah. He's told very brutal stories. He says it wasn't planned, but you drove 40 minutes out to an oil field and you had every chance to save the girls. At that point.
Yeah.
Like, they were still alive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there has been, like, psychological testing and things like that. People do not believe that he's a sociopath or a psychopath. Like, I think people confuse that a killer means just because you're a murderer or have pretty little remorse doesn't necessarily mean that you're antisocial personality or psychopath.
Yeah.
He had never, this isn't like our habitual people.
Yeah, like childhood trauma.
No.
You know.
This isn't like this was
animals.
him. It was like he was normal, snap.
Okay.
Like, which is almost scarier.
I agree.
Because
absolutely,
you don't see it coming.
Yeah.
This could be your neighbor.
Yeah.
This could be your husband.
Yeah.
Like, this is a true snap.
Yeah.
He was seemingly normal before.
What's running through my mind is the only thing I feel like is that they argued about something. Maybe you're right. Maybe he did chicken out, or maybe like he did tell her and she was like, oh, heck no, that ain't going to happen. And so he doesn't know what else to do. I mean, he kills her in a fit of rage. And then, of course, he puts her in the truck. And in my mind, well, I can't leave the kids here by themselves. What kind of parent would I be? You know, I got to get my daughter and put her in the car. And then he gets there and he's like, well, now they've seen her and they know something's wrong and they're going to see me dump her body. So the only answer, I don't know if he really planned to kill the girls, but then he was like, there is no other way.
Yeah.
Which is horrible.
Yeah.
That makes me sick to my stomach.
Terrible person. And just very weak.
Yeah.
Like, so weak-minded that was your only out.
Yeah.
Like, if you want a divorce, say you want a divorce.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what she does.
Mm-hmm.
Say you want a divorce. If she starts acting crazy, leave. Call the police so y'all can have a civil conference. Like, there are ways out. This was not your answer.
No.
Call 911 if you think it's getting violent. Like, what?
Yeah.
Or maybe don't even tell her over the phone. You could have just left. You could have just left a note if you thought it was going to get violent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, murdering the entire family, including your pregnant wife.
Yeah.
Like,
I just can't. Like, the babies is what gets me.
Yeah.
Like,
it's the little girls that's. And he even says, like, disgusting stuff. Like, basically that only one of them had any fight in her.
What?
Yeah. And was saying, like, daddy, no. And so then the father of Shanann is just pretty much like, he does not believe that he actually had the conversation with her and was trying to tell her, because he's like, Shanann is way tougher than that.
Mm-hmm.
Had she been awake, she would have fought you back.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Like, you would have had a black eye or something.
Yeah.
But he thinks that he chickened out and either drugged her or, like, did it in her sleep so that she wouldn't, like, couldn't fight back. Yeah.
So it couldn't have even been, like, a crime of passion. Like, they're getting in an argument. He gets really mad and just.
I think he says that. I think he acted like that. But people are like, there wasn't really any signs of, like, altercation.
Yeah.
You know, it looked like a pretty clear strangled her.
Yeah. And I guess no other, like, head wounds or anything where she would have been knocked out.
Or even that she would have been fighting him back, you know?
Like scratches or skin. Wow.
Yeah.
What a human piece of trash.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even, like, you don't even get the luxury of being labeled, like, insane. No, you made a bad choice.
Yeah.
You had all of your judgment intact, and you made a freaking bad choice.
Yeah.
Like, this was not beyond your control.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't stand that dude. So, Enneagram, what's some of your thoughts?
Okay. Well, we don't have a lot of personality, I guess, for him other than he's just kind of a chill dude. So I guess I'm going for a 9.
Yeah.
Maybe a 2, but I don't think he's super helpful, but super chill. Maybe a 6.
I can't get over the 9.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't.
Mm-hmm.
Easygoing, agreeable, complacent. Like, I think, remember when we talked about the only way we think a 9 could murder is a snap?
Yeah.
Like, when you finally are at your point of, like, you're agreeable and I think that's him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've been complacent. And then you start seeing this little way out, but you're too weak to be like, or let me say, you're too non-confrontational.
Yeah.
To just man up and say like, hey, this isn't working for me. You know, only a 9, I feel like.
Yeah.
Would go, you don't want to confront her so bad.
Yeah.
That this is your only option.
Yeah.
So for levels of health in a 9, the very lowest, clearly, they finally become severely disoriented and catatonic, abandoning themselves. Multiple personalities possible, generally corresponds, blah, blah, blah. Can feel incapable of facing problems, neglectful and dangerous to others. Like, and that's what they said. It almost seemed like a completely different person. The last like 6 weeks or whatever, his, you know, he had this personality all the way up to here. And then it was like, you know, Shanann even said, like, I don't even know him anymore.
Yeah.
Like, who is this? I think he just finally was at his point of like, I can't do this marriage, maybe. Mm-hmm. But so non-willing to
confront the problems.
To just face the issue and say, hey, we need to have an adult conversation.
Yeah. Well, and my thing that sticks out to me is with 9s, they like disassociate. So I feel like at those levels of unhealth, they can be like that. And that's the only way I feel like he'd be able to say things like, well, she's the only one who fought back. I mean, because this is your child, somebody that you've loved and you've held as a newborn. Like, you have to have something that is drastically wrong and different with you.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, with the snap, that would make you be able to say stuff about that. Say stuff like that about your child.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. So, I mean, key motivations to avoid conflict, to preserve things as they are, to resist whatever would upset or disturb them. Like, I genuinely think, because some people have said, like Tevin said he sees him being like a 7 or an 8. And I'm like, no. Mm-hmm. Now, I think this impulsive end, like this flip when he snapped, maybe looks confrontational, but it really wasn't. Like, you didn't really confront the issue.
Especially if he did it while she was sleeping. Yeah. Because that's the exact opposite of being confrontational.
Yeah, like, you didn't walk in and brutally, you tried to cover everything up, bury everything down to avoid it, and wanted to go off with your little happy new girlfriend. Yeah. Because you couldn't just, like, he wanted everyone to believe that they just ran off.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I guess they left. I hope they're okay. And finally, the police was like, you haven't cried a tear. Your babies are gone.
Yeah.
You know what happened.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I'm not lying. Yeah, just like, I don't know.
That's so bad.
Oh.
Well, I also thought maybe some six-ish stuff, but 9s go to 6 in stress, don't they? Mm-hmm. So I was thinking more like that need to feel safe, or that like need to be able to.
Mm-hmm. And
if that was struggling, then
I didn't see the 6 leading up.
Yeah, no, yeah,
more of a 9 leading up. Now, definitely, he flips to like, which I feel like when a 9 gets to that point, then all bets are off.
Yeah, absolutely.
An Enneagram. Now, I think Shanann, as this was something we were going to do, but haven't really been doing a good job of it. But I do think Shanann is an 8.
Okay.
Which, you know, she's that domineering, confident, more likely to be confrontational. Mm-hmm. So I was looking at the compatibility
between
of
a 9 and an 8?
A 9 and an 8.
Oh, okay. One of my work friends is a 9 and her husband is an 8. Ooh. So I'm excited to hear about this.
So potential trouble spots. 8s tend to push harder while 9s tend to increasingly shut down.
Okay.
9s can become unresponsive or worse, energetically pushing the 8 away as a defense. 8s become more aggressive and belligerent. 9s respond by not responding. They may react passive-aggressively or sabotaging, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, had they gotten into an argument, I think as a 9, arguing with an 8 is terrifying.
oh, okay, I'm going to bring up my coworkers again because she, we talk about stuff, not about her and her husband getting in a ton of fights, but she says she knows that when he's in that mood, she just can't. She just doesn't say anything. Yeah. She's the 9 and he's the 8. So she's like, I know when he's like that there's nothing I can say, so I just don't say anything. I mean, keep my mouth shut.
Most people are intimidated by 8s.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
Like, even in like a positive way of just like, oh, they're so strong, they're so brave, they're willing to say anything. Most
Speak
people,
their mind.
Yeah.
It's intimidating. Even if it's like something you can admire about them, right. It can be very like off-putting, but not in a bad way.
So for a 9, someone who's complacent, goes with the flow, tries to keep the peace between everybody, like having a crucial conversation with an 8 is like, this isn't going to go well.
That would be so terrifying.
Yeah, this isn't going to go well.
Yeah.
I know it's not.
Yeah.
And so, not an excuse, but honestly, just an area he needed to grow in.
Yeah.
Was like, dude, regardless of your 9, you've got, especially in a marriage, like y'all have known this for years.
Yeah. Especially in some, and I think that emotions can tend to be higher in that. So it's not like, if you're a 9 and you work with an 8 and you have to have some kind of confrontation with them, that's scary. But when you're married to somebody and you're like, you have to have those, because those are deeper, harder conversations all the time.
This says, at its worst, this archetypal elemental combination of an 8 and a 9 can deteriorate into a domestic battlefield with frequent verbal and physical abuse.
Oh, wow.
So
I did not know that. Is this Enneagram Institute?
Yeah.
I didn't know they got that in depth.
Yeah.
I thought they usually kept things
pretty
light.
And there's positives.
Yeah,
so
of course.
If you find yourself in an 8 and a 9 relationship, please don't just hear this. Remember, we're talking about
unhealthy.
Worst case scenario.
Yes.
There is a whole multiple paragraph section on what each type brings to the relationship and how this pair can be dynamic and powerful. So, I mean, it doesn't mean that if you are an 8 and a 9 pair, that you're just doomed for failure, but you should learn how to communicate. And if you're an 8, learn how to understand the 9's fear, core fear, as well as if you're a 9, not just shut down or brutally murder your family.
Definitely not that one. That's not suggested.
If you are so terrified of confrontation.
Goodness.
And now, I don't know that he's a 9, but this is my prediction that if he is a 9, this is how I explain this.
Yeah. Well, this, like we said earlier, this is like the most terrifying kind of situation. We talked about being really scared in season 1 and then not really scared in season 2. And now this one's been a mix of we hate that person or we hate that person or maybe this guy didn't even do it. And we'll see a lot more of that the rest of the season. But this one, I think, actually makes you...
It's eerie.
Yeah.
It's very
not
creepy.
Like shaking in your bones or like looking in your back seat, but like maybe just staring at your partner a little bit longer right before you go to bed or...
Are we good?
Yeah. You're like, did I get the milk or did I lock the door? Did I do all the things he told me to do?
Yeah.
It's terrifying. It's very scary. I told my students this 2 years ago that I listen to way too much true crime. I'm a paranoid person about stuff like this. And I'm like, you cannot trust. It's the Bridesmaids quote. What is in that movie? She's like, you can't trust anybody ever. And I live by that motto because you really can't. I mean, because in situations like this, he looks like a normal guy. All so American normal. Family. They're like living the dream. Yeah. They've got 2 kids, another kid on the way. And then bam, even things change.
Like his coworkers, other people, his boss. People are like, no red flags.
Yeah.
Like, no, he was easygoing. Like his boss said he's easygoing guy. Like, no.
Did we have another 9 in season 2?
I can't remember the 9s, but I thought we had one in season 1.
We did, but it was a snap. The guy snapped.
Right. Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't think we did.
And part of this is repressed anger in 9s. When 9s consistently don't confront. And so they just bottle it and bottle it and bottle it. At a certain point, your bottle can only hold so much and then you explode. And one of the psychologists that was looking through or was like evaluating or whatever who did not think that he met criteria for, just because you murder someone does not mean that you have a personality disorder. We say that, and it makes us feel better to think they're crazy.
Yeah.
When it's like he was repressing and repressing and repressing and repressing, which is more normal than you think.
Yeah, absolutely.
For someone to do that. Now, chances are they're not. And this is just a bad mix of like marriage and pregnancy. And that was, that was stressful. Plus then this new girl. And like there was just bad factors at play.
Yep.
Which made it a toxic environment.
Oof.
And I've heard that that house that they lived in, which looks super normal, has not sold since.
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I mean, like, people for not wanting to buy it.
Yeah.
It was so new.
Yeah. And
it's like so recent.
It was like spotless when you walked in there, like no signs of entry, no signs of like altercation. Just, he is weird. He is very strange. And women, you know how they did Ted Bundy?
Oh, yeah.
Women have like sent him all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Y'all, stop doing that. If you're doing that, you're disgusting. Like, oh, stop. I'll always go back to the woman who got a tattoo of the Ted Bundy bite mark.
Yeah.
That is disgusting.
You are weird. There is actually a term for women who are attracted to, like, I don't know if it's necessarily murders, but like criminals or whatever. There's like a term for it. I can't remember it, but I was in my research, I was finding it and I was like, wow, that's a thing.
I don't like you if you like that kind of thing. It's like, there's okay with, we like true crime because we listen to it and we have a true crime podcast. And I think that a lot of women do. And there's a healthy fear, I think, that comes with it. Maybe sometimes an unhealthy fear when you get too paranoid. Yeah. But then there's obsession, and that's not okay.
And not becoming obsessed with the killer.
Yeah, and like
there's one thing of like the adrenaline from the story.
Yeah.
Not the actual murderer.
Yes.
Yeah, like we're not fantasizing then. You weirdo.
Disgusting.
Okay. So we're going to do a BuzzFeed quiz. Answer these questions and I might guess your worst personality trait.
That's such a vague... Who created this? That's hilarious.
So
I love it.
my thought process here is that his worst personality trait, I don't know what it's going to say, but terrible communication.
Yes.
Not willing to confront problems. He's certainly, passive.
What I think is interesting, though, is that we found him to be, nines are known for being like very the peacemakers, but also kind of having traits of all the numbers, And I feel like it's funny that we just found the 9 traits about him and not really any of the other, personality types of him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know why I brought that up.
Okay. All right. Check it out.
Okay. Let's take our BuzzFeed quiz. Just as a reminder, if you've never been here, we are going to answer these questions as if we were answering them like from the mind of Chris Watts. Yeah. We're going to do our best at least.
When someone is annoying you, how do you usually react?
Immediately start yelling.
Get physical.
I'm the most patient soul in the world.
Meh.
Okay, when someone is annoying you.
I say one of the bottom 2.
Yeah, I think meh.
Meh, yeah.
Well, okay, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think inside he's hating it.
Yes.
But he is doing his best to keep the peace.
Yeah. When someone is quiet, how do you react?
I get frustrated.
I don't associate with quiet people.
I'm quiet too.
I don't really care. I think I'm quiet too.
I'm quiet too. Yeah. How do you feel when you need to hide your emotions?
I'm actually an emotional person.
I cry like every day.
Emotion should not be shown.
I'm too scared.
I'm the master at handling everything.
I don't know. Well, he is a liar. So I'm thinking he's not showing his emotions well.
Yeah.
Because he's just pretending. He's pretending like he's fine when he's actually cheating and lying.
Yeah. How do you feel when you need to hide your emotions? I would either think it'd be emotions should not be shown or I'm too scared. Because I would say, like, he probably felt very afraid to maybe not afraid is the best word, but felt like he couldn't show his emotions. Okay, let's go with emotions should not be shown. I would just say that because I think if she was an 8, then maybe emotions weren't very, or he was afraid to show big emotions.
Mm-hmm.
When a friend is asking for help on an upcoming test, what do you do?
What if I help, but then they get mad?
I get angry whenever they ask.
What if they're asking for trouble?
Of course I'd help. I know everything.
My friend is asking for help on an upcoming test. I mean, I'm leaning towards the what if I help, but then they get mad. But I don't understand why a friend would get mad when you helped. But
then they get mad. What if they're asking for trouble? I don't really understand the question.
I don't really either, but he didn't seem like a typically angry guy.
Yeah.
He also didn't seem like a guy who thought he acted like he knew everything.
Right.
I mean, except for he's a liar. But
I think, well, let's go with what if they're asking for trouble.
Okay.
Because that's shy.
Okay.
Is that the one you got?
Yeah.
Okay.
People saw him as
quiet, reserved. Okay.
Yeah.
And shy, not wanting to show those emotions or show that he wanted out of the marriage.
Yeah, dude. Like, don't cheat. Just say that you're done.
Or again, like you said, just leave.
Run away. Yeah. Run off with her.
Lots of people do that. Don't get me wrong. Nothing is bad with being shy, but some people may think you're being rude to them or truly have no intentions on making friends.
So she had a ton of friends,
mm-hmm.
which is how the friend actually was, on his toes. But even whenever he was going so far to be like, should I drive the route that she normally goes and see if I see her? And the police are just like, what does that even mean? Like, what route does she usually go? And he was like to the grocery store or like to her friend's house. And he was just like, does she have friends in the area? And he was like, well, she's the woman. She's got more friends than I do. And like, she had friends that she texted like frequently.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was literally trying to pretend like he had no clue.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just trying not to believe that yet. Like, I'm thinking they'll come home, like knowing where they were. Like, dude.
Yeah.
He was sending text messages to her phone like, hey, where are you? After he had murdered them.
Yeah.
Like, just to make himself look innocent.
Yeah. Better
Jeez,
than not
dude.
texting her, I guess. At least he was like trying
to lie.
Yeah, I mean, like
he should have just turned himself in immediately, or just if you want to leave a marriage, just walk out the door. Just say, I'm done. Bye. People would still think you're a jerk, but you're not in jail for the rest of your life.
And you're not. Yeah.
Her friends would still hate you. Her family would still hate you.
But there's a big difference in hating somebody because they murdered your friend or your family member.
That kind of confrontation would still suck.
Yeah.
But this is worse.
Yes. And if you just left, there are jobs. Nikki could have gone with you. Yeah. You just left. They never heard from you again. Whatever, You'd be a crap human, but you wouldn't be like one of the worst humans in the world.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So.
That's our advice.
Killer personality, marriage advice.
Oh, well.
You heard it from us here.
Yes.
Also, check out my hat. I'm wearing my killer personality hat.
Nice.
So.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube. Is that what you call that? Subscribe to the Natural State Media Company.
Also, Tevin always
channel.
tells me to make sure that you're subscribing on Apple Music and things like that, because if you're not, you could get the episode later than everyone else.
Oh.
When you're subscribing, it'll show up in your feed sooner than people who are not.
Very cool. So there you go.
Make sure you subscribe. Leave us a positive review, not a negative review.
Only good ones, please. If you want, we can take some criticism. Listen, we're 3, so we can take the criticism. But send it to
in a DM.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like we can handle that. Don't leave us a bad review. Just send it to us. We'll fix whatever your grievance is, or we'll block you. And
delete your dang comment.
and and that'll be just the way it is. We'll be happy
because we do go to 9s in stress.
Yeah,
so we don't love the confrontation.
But
right,
we
y'all.
can handle it. So
see you next week.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.